Raku lived what appeared to be a normal high school life until he was forced into a fake romantic relationship with Chitoge in order to prevent a serious conflict between their families. While pretending to be in love, Raku became trapped in a complicated romantic situation as several girls connected to a forgotten childhood promise began to appear in his life, each of them holding a key tied to his past. Pulled between obligation, slowly growing feelings, and a promise he could barely remember, Raku struggled to discover who truly held the key to his heart. 10 years earlier, Raku had made a promise with a childhood friend. Before they were separated, they each wore a pendant. Raku kept a pendant shaped like a keyhole, while his childhood friend carried the key. The locket was meant to be opened only when they met again, and the key would reveal what had been locked inside. They had promised to marry in the future. 10 years passed, and Raku grew into an ordinary teenager. On that day, Raku began his morning routine by preparing breakfast. He started by sautéing spices for the meat, cooking pasta, and finishing the dish carefully. Once the food was ready and tasted good, Raku called over the people he casually referred to as troublemakers to eat together. The men, who had intimidating appearances, immediately turned toward him and addressed him respectfully as the young master. They all ate together, genuinely enjoying the meal Raku had prepared. They praised him as a worthy heir. Raku stated that he had no interest in becoming the successor to a Yakuza organization. He explained that he wanted to attend a top university, become a civil servant, and live an honest and upright life while moving forward with purpose. The group reacted enthusiastically. Raku's father, Issei, soon arrived, and the Yakuza members immediately showed respect to him as their boss. Issei mentioned that he would discuss something important with Raku in the near future. Every day, Raku was escorted to school by his father's subordinates. Other students felt uneasy when they passed by the Yakuza members. As Raku walked toward his school, one of the subordinates warned him that an unfamiliar gang had been causing trouble in their territory and advised him to be careful. Raku could not understand why his world was always surrounded by conflict. He even thought about leaving his family behind and living a peaceful life elsewhere. Raku studied diligently so that he could be accepted into a prestigious university, which was why he never had a girlfriend. The only time he had been close to a girl was during his childhood. He often looked at the keyhole pendant as a reminder of that promise. Despite the many challenges he faced in life, that day marked a turning point in Raku's fate. A girl was running toward the school in a hurry. She attempted to climb over the fence and jump down, but unexpectedly landed directly on top of Raku. The impact caused Raku's pendant to be thrown aside. The girl apologized and quickly left the scene. Raku was left confused by what had just happened. Raku then entered his classroom, where Shu and Onodera were surprised to see him. Onodera noticed that Raku's nose was bleeding and showed concern, but Raku reassured her that he was fine. He explained that a girl had accidentally landed on him earlier. Shu was confused, wondering what kind of person would climb a fence and cause such an incident. Raku asked Shu to believe him. Onodera gently handed Raku a bandage to stop the bleeding. Raku was surprised by how close he felt to Onodera at that moment. He even felt that enduring the mishap was worth it just to be near her. Raku felt relieved and happy that he could talk with Onodera, even though he had expected the day to continue going badly. That morning, their homeroom teacher, Hyoko, informed the class that they would be welcoming a transfer student. She then introduced the new student. The transfer student turned out to be the same girl who had collided with Raku earlier that morning. She introduced herself as Chitoge, a transfer student from America with Japanese and American heritage. She spoke Japanese fluently and quickly captured the attention of the class with her bright personality. Her appearance and confidence impressed many of the students, and the classroom atmosphere became lively. Hyoko instructed Chitoge to take a seat in the back row. When Chitoge and Raku locked eyes, both of them were visibly surprised. Raku internally labeled Chitoge as a fierce and troublesome girl, while Chitoge appeared equally displeased. Raku still felt unsettled by the earlier incident, while Chitoge believed she had already apologized sufficiently. The students were shocked by the obvious tension between them. Chitoge was confused as to why Raku continued to dwell on the incident, while Raku felt that the situation had been more serious than she realized. Chitoge grew irritated and viewed Raku as overly sensitive, while Raku responded with equal frustration. Their exchange escalated into visible hostility, startling the surrounding students. Although Raku and Chitoge were seated next to each other, it was clear that the two did not get along at all. Raku was confused because it was his first time ever meeting a girl as annoying as Chitoge. Her personality was completely different from Onodera's and also very different from his childhood friend from long ago. Up to that point, Raku still had not reunited with his childhood friend, and deep down he wished that Onodera could have been his first love. Raku then realized that his keyhole pendant was no longer with him. He remembered that the pendant most likely fell earlier that morning when Chitoge accidentally landed on him. During the school break, Raku asked Chitoge to help look for the missing pendant. Chitoge was puzzled about why she had to help him search for it. Raku explained that the pendant was probably lost when Chitoge accidentally kicked his face earlier. Onodera approached Raku and asked what was going on. Raku told her that he was just trying to find something very important to him. Onodera offered to help, but Raku said that since the pendant was lost because of Chitoge, then Chitoge should be the one helping him look for it. Chitoge reluctantly agreed and asked what kind of pendant she was supposed to find. Raku explained that it was his pendant with a keyhole. Upon hearing that, Onodera looked surprised, as if she recognized the object. Chitoge agreed to search for the pendant on one condition. As a trade-off, Raku was not allowed to talk to her at school ever again, because she disliked boys who complained too much about trivial matters. Suddenly, a teacher showed up and asked Raku to help introduce Chitoge to the school environment. The teacher also assigned them the task of taking care of the school's pet. Raku did not understand why all of this kept happening to him. Chitoge reminded him not to talk to her, but Raku thought it would be difficult to complete their task without communicating, especially since they were not even inside the school grounds at that moment. That day, they ended up spending all their time taking care of the school pet, leaving them with no opportunity to search for the pendant. The next day, during class, Chitoge struggled to keep up with the lesson. Noticing this, Raku gave her his Japanese language notes during the school break because he knew she probably did not have enough time to finish copying everything. Chitoge once again reminded him not to talk to her at school and not to interfere in her business. Raku grew increasingly irritated by Chitoge's attitude. The following day, Raku's class had a physical education lesson, and the students were doing warm-up stretches. At that time, Shu asked since when Raku had become close to Chitoge, because Raku was often seen together with her after school. Raku denied being close to her. Shu commented that Chitoge was very beautiful, and that many boys were curious about her. Raku completely disagreed with the idea of Chitoge being considered beautiful. During the class, Chitoge managed to perform an impressive move on the bar, and her classmates cheered and praised her. In Raku's mind, her beauty felt exaggerated and awkward. Chitoge noticed his reaction and responded by acting recklessly, causing a small commotion that the teachers quickly put under control. When Raku arrived home, he still could not believe Chitoge's wild behavior and wondered what kind of environment she had grown up in. Suddenly, one of the Yakuza members mentioned that there was trouble involving a rival group in Alley 3, and they rushed out to deal with the situation. It could be said that Raku lived in a rather rough neighborhood. The next day after school, Onodera gave Raku some bandages to treat his injuries. Raku mentioned that Chitoge was a very intense and intimidating girl. Even so, Onodera thought that Raku was still being kind to Chitoge, since she had seen him lending his notes to her. Raku felt genuinely happy hearing that. Onodera then asked where Raku had bought the missing pendant. Raku explained that the pendant was a gift from someone 10 years ago. Onodera was shocked to hear that. Raku admitted that he had made a promise, which was why he had to keep the pendant with him at all times. Over the next few days, Raku and Chitoge continued searching for the pendant every time they walked home from school. Chitoge complained because despite searching for several days, they had made no progress at all. Raku then asked why Chitoge had suddenly transferred to the school. Chitoge explained that the move was related to her parents' work, but she refused to go into detail when Raku tried to ask more. She clearly did not want to talk about her personal life with him. As Chitoge walked past Raku, he caught her scent, which strangely made him feel as though he had smelled it somewhere before. After growing tired from searching, Raku went to the riverbank and thought about where he might have encountered that familiar scent in the past. Suddenly, he noticed a disturbance caused by a mafia group nearby. He could not believe that the situation around that area seemed to be getting more and more chaotic. The next day, Chitoge arrived late to help Raku search for his missing locket. She admitted that she was irritated because her friends had been spreading rumors that she was dating Raku. In reality, Chitoge did not feel close to him at all, and every day after school, she still chose to help him look for the locket because she believed it was the right thing to do as a decent person. At the same time, Onodera was walking toward Raku because she wanted to help with the search as well. However, she ended up overhearing a heated argument between Raku and Chitoge. The two of them were caught in a tense exchange, blaming each other for the situation. Chitoge could not understand why Raku was panicking so much over a lost locket. In her view, Raku was the type of guy who overreacted to small things, almost like someone who could not sleep without a childhood comfort item. Chitoge acknowledged that it made sense if the locket had been given to Raku by a girl he cared about, but she still could not understand why he kept clinging to such a childish memory from the past. She believed that the girl who gave him the locket had probably already forgotten about it. Chitoge continued to speak harshly, which eventually made Raku lose his temper. He told her to leave if she truly did not want to help anymore. Heavy rain began to fall, and Chitoge immediately walked away after Raku raised his voice at her. Raku never expected that he would end up seriously scolding a girl, and the realization left him shaken. The following day, Raku continued searching for the missing locket on his own. From a distance, Chitoge quietly watched him. At that moment, Raku recalled Chitoge's words about how his childhood friend might have already forgotten him. Those words frustrated him deeply. Suddenly, Onodera approached and informed him that Chitoge had been looking for him. Raku waited, confused about why Chitoge wanted to meet him. Not long after, Chitoge threw the locket toward him. Raku was stunned that she had managed to find it. Onodera later explained that even after their argument, Chitoge had continued searching for the locket in secret. Chitoge did not want Raku to know that she had been doing so all along. Chitoge had also slipped a short note inside the locket, stating that her task was finished and that Raku should no longer speak to her while they were at school. Raku realized that although Chitoge was often irritating, she also had a genuinely kind side. He also understood that some of the things she had said to him were not entirely wrong. It truly might have been time for him to let go of his childhood promise. Suddenly, Onodera expressed that she did not agree with Raku's decision to forget the promise. She believed that if the other person still remembered making that promise, then that person would surely feel hurt if Raku abandoned it. Even if it was a promise made by two children, the fact that it existed meant that the person who made it cared deeply about him. Onodera apologized for saying something that might have sounded strange, but Raku did not mind at all. Instead, he felt grateful because her words helped him feel better. Onodera's face turned red as she looked at Raku. Raku realized that whether or not he would ever meet that person again, he should never forget the promise and must continue to keep it close to his heart. He thanked Onodera and then left. Onodera remained standing there, her face still flushed as she watched him walk away. She felt nervous, and once again, she could not bring herself to say what she truly felt. In truth, Onodera was the girl who had made that promise with Raku in the past. She felt foolish for being unable to confess the truth to him. That evening, Raku returned home, where Issei was already waiting to speak with him, just as he had mentioned before. Issei explained that a long-standing conflict between powerful groups was about to reach a critical point. Raku was shocked and wondered whether it was really acceptable for the situation to continue escalating. Issei then revealed that the leader of the opposing group was actually an old friend of his, and that the man had a daughter around Raku's age. Because of this, Issei planned to pair Raku with that daughter. Raku was stunned by the idea, but it turned out to be a strategic arrangement. If the heirs of both families appeared to be a couple, their followers would hesitate to take drastic action. Raku insisted that he did not want to be involved in such an arrangement. Issei asked whether Raku already had a girlfriend, but regardless of the answer, Issei made it clear that lives were at stake and that his decision would not change. Raku could not refuse his father, especially since the relationship would only be an act and would likely last just a few days. Suddenly, Raku heard a familiar voice. Issei then asked the girl who would be Raku's partner to come forward. To Raku's complete surprise, the girl was Chitoge. In that moment, everything finally made sense to him. Why Chitoge had suddenly transferred schools, why she avoided talking about her family, and why the scent around her had always felt familiar. It was the same sharp scent he associated with gunpowder. Issei declared that starting the next day, Raku and Chitoge would be in a relationship for 3 years. The days filled with constant arguments between them were about to turn into a period of living out a carefully constructed false love. Raku was forced by his father to date the daughter of a mafia boss. He never expected that the girl in question would be Chitoge. Only then did he find out that Chitoge was the daughter of a mafia leader, and at the same time, Chitoge also never imagined that Raku was the heir of a Yakuza family. Chitoge's father, named Adult, was the boss of the Beehive Mafia gang. Issei was the one who introduced Adult and Chitoge to Raku. Adult mentioned that Issei had talked a lot about Raku before this meeting. Both Chitoge and Raku strongly objected to the idea of dating each other, but Issei explained that they really had no other option. Neither side wanted to allow a conflict between groups to break out. Suddenly, a group of people led by Claude rushed into Raku's residence, searching for their young lady. Claude was a high-ranking member of the Beehive Mafia and was assigned to protect Chitoge, so he came to bring her back. Not long after that, more members arrived and prepared themselves, creating a very tense situation with the opposing group. Issei realized that the Beehive members seemed to misunderstand the situation. Issei and Adult then explained together that Raku and Chitoge were a couple who were deeply in love. Everyone present was shocked and clearly found it hard to believe. Claude even looked to his boss for confirmation. Adelt admitted that both he and Issei had already given their blessing to the relationship. The Yakuza members were deeply moved, because they had been worried for a long time that Raku still did not have a girlfriend at his age. Some of them even started thinking about celebrating the news. Claude was also emotional, as he suddenly realized that Chitoge had grown up. He never imagined that the young lady he had protected since childhood would one day become a mature and independent young woman. Knowing this made him genuinely happy. The Yakuza members agreed to maintain peace for Raku's sake, and the Beehive Mafia members were also willing to support Chitoge so she could date without trouble. Raku and Chitoge both tried to deny their relationship. Raku teased Chitoge with a nickname that compared her strength to a gorilla, while Chitoge teased Raku by comparing him to a bean sprout. The tense atmosphere quickly escalated when both sides reacted strongly to the teasing, and the situation almost turned dangerous. Issei and Adelt immediately stepped in and made it clear that any harm toward either Raku or Chitoge would not be tolerated. The subordinates then asked again whether Raku and Chitoge were truly dating. Seeing no other way out, both of them felt pressured and had no choice but to go along with the story. Raku explained that he and Chitoge were indeed in love. He clarified that the nickname he gave her was meant as a compliment, because she was as strong and dependable as a gorilla. He also emphasized that his feelings for her were not ordinary. Chitoge responded in the same way, explaining that she called him a bean sprout because of his very pale skin. They even started calling each other affectionate names. The faces of the subordinates turned red with embarrassment, and they became convinced that Raku and Chitoge were truly in love. That night, Raku and Chitoge sat together while looking up at the sky. They felt unable to complain about the situation, since they had no real choice other than to go along with it. Chitoge admitted that she did not even know what people were supposed to do while dating. Raku also confessed that he had no idea because he had never dated anyone before. Chitoge then admitted that she also had no dating experience, since she was not very good at romantic things. Raku thanked Chitoge for finding his locket. Chitoge explained that she felt bad hearing Raku constantly worrying about it. She became curious about why the locket was so precious to him and wondered if it was connected to someone important from his past. Raku then shared that the locket had been given to him by someone 10 years earlier. When his father once took him on a trip, he became close to a girl he met there. Before they parted ways, the girl gave him the locket as a symbol of their promise to meet again someday. Raku could no longer remember her name or face, but he still remembered the promise itself. He assumed that Chitoge might dislike something like that, because it involved holding on to the past. Chitoge explained that what she truly disliked were men who remained stuck in past mistakes and never tried to change themselves. As for a romantic promise like that, she actually found it sweet. Raku started thinking about ways to handle the situation, since dating Chitoge would definitely be exhausting for him. Chitoge, on the other hand, was also reluctant to date Raku. In the end, the two of them continued to tease each other, even though neither of them was happy about being in this relationship. The next morning, when Raku woke up from his sleep, one of his father's subordinates informed him that a guest had come to see him. Raku immediately went to meet the visitor and was surprised to find Chitoge there with her father. With a teasing grin on her face, Chitoge invited Raku to go on a date that very day. Hearing this, Raku was taken aback. He wondered why he had to go on a date with Chitoge. It turned out that because they were considered to be a couple, they were expected to do activities that couples normally do, such as going on dates together. Raku and Chitoge walked around the downtown area together. Unbeknownst to them, members of the Beehive Mafia and the Yakuza were watching them from a distance. Chitoge did not understand why she had to be put in a situation like this. According to Raku, there was no other choice but to go along with it, and he asked what they should do next. Chitoge admitted that she did not know either, because in her opinion, it was usually the man who was supposed to take the lead. Raku had never dated anyone before, but he had often imagined his ideal date with Onodera. In his imagination, they would chat together at a cafe, watch a movie, eat a meal together, and take a relaxing walk through a beautiful park. Raku suggested that they visit a cafe, but to his surprise, Chitoge kept criticizing the drinks and food that were served. After that, they went to a movie theater. Chitoge chose an action-packed movie, while Raku preferred an emotional film that was currently very popular. In the end, they decided on a romantic movie, since that was the kind of film people usually watched on dates. However, Chitoge ended up falling asleep before the movie was over. Raku never expected that a girl like Chitoge would look much cuter while sleeping than when she was being loud and restless. After the movie ended, Chitoge asked Raku to buy her some juice because she was thirsty. Raku felt irritated and realized once again that Chitoge really did not have a soft or gentle side at all. While Raku was buying the juice, Chitoge was approached by a group of rude men. She said that she was waiting for someone, but they kept bothering her. Even Claude and the others who were keeping watch from afar felt annoyed by the situation. The men continued to bother Chitoge, and she was already preparing to deal with them herself. Suddenly, Raku returned, grabbed Chitoge by the arm, and pulled her away as he started running. Chitoge was shocked and could only follow wherever Raku led her. When they finally stopped at a park bench, Chitoge wondered why Raku had stopped her, acting like a man who had just saved a girl from trouble, even though she could have handled the situation on her own. Raku explained that he only wanted to keep Chitoge away from a confrontation. He did not intend to defend the men, but he believed that if Chitoge lost her temper and caused a scene, people might end up judging her unfairly. Raku reminded her not to lower herself to that level. Hearing this, Chitoge's face turned red. She admitted that she also did not want to waste her time dealing with people like that. Raku realized that this was the first time in his life that he had held a girl by the arm. Chitoge commented that going on a date with Raku was annoying, boring, and full of unwanted advice, which completely ruined her mood. Even so, she admitted that it was not the worst experience ever, and she even added 1 extra point to the score if their date were rated out of 100. After saying that, Chitoge quickly walked away. As she continued down the street, Chitoge kept thinking about what had happened earlier. It was the first time she had ever been led by a man like that, and she felt that it was a mistake. Meanwhile, Raku did not understand what Chitoge actually wanted. He thought that if he had gone on a date with Onodera instead, his dream might have come true already. Suddenly, Onodera appeared right in front of him. She was surprised because she had just heard Raku say her name. Onodera asked what Raku was doing there, and Raku reacted in panic when he saw her. He then asked what Onodera was doing in that area. Onodera explained that she was on her way home after shopping with a friend. In truth, she had wanted to surprise Raku, but she ended up being the one who was surprised when she heard him mention her name. Onodera became curious about what Raku had been thinking. Raku's heart started beating fast as he saw Onodera looking straight at him. At that moment, Chitoge was in the restroom. By chance, she overheard her father's subordinates talking. It seemed that they were starting to suspect her relationship with Raku, because it did not look affectionate like it did back at the Yakuza house. Instead, they often saw the two of them arguing. Realizing that her situation could become risky, Chitoge quickly put on a cute act again. She approached Raku while calling him by an affectionate nickname, her face slightly flushed. However, the moment she reached him, her body froze when she saw that Onodera was standing there as well. Onodera did not expect what she had just heard. After hearing Chitoge call Raku by an affectionate nickname, she asked whether that meant Chitoge and Raku were dating. Raku and Chitoge immediately denied it, but they both realized that their father's subordinates were watching them closely. Raku had no idea what to do, especially because he did not want Onodera to think that he was in a relationship with Chitoge. Unexpectedly, Chitoge suddenly held onto Raku's arm and claimed that she and Raku really were a couple who had just started dating. Onodera was shocked by that statement. Raku froze, unsure how to react. Chitoge then urged Raku to go along with it. She understood that Raku would feel embarrassed if their classmates found out, but at that moment, their safety was what mattered most. Maybe if it were only their classmates, Raku would not care. But the real problem for him was that he did not want Onodera to believe he was dating Chitoge. Onodera admitted that the news surprised her because she had never known about it before. Raku tried to deny it again, but Chitoge kept insisting on the opposite. Feeling irritated, Chitoge lightly stepped on Raku's foot to get his attention, then excused herself and left. Onodera asked whether it was really okay to let Chitoge go home alone. Raku replied that it was fine because he would catch up with her later. Meanwhile, Claude felt that even though he could not follow Raku and Chitoge everywhere, something about their relationship seemed off to him. He decided that he would eventually confront Raku for getting too close to Princess Chitoge, though his intention was more about setting things straight than causing trouble. Raku then tried to explain to Onodera that he and Chitoge did not have the kind of relationship she was imagining. However, Onodera became even more convinced that Raku was simply too shy to admit it. She said that she understood his feelings, but in her view, Raku did not need to treat Chitoge so coldly because it came across as unkind. Onodera also felt that Raku and Chitoge looked very compatible and even seemed like a couple deeply in love. Raku never expected Onodera to believe the story so completely. Onodera prepared to leave, assuming that Raku and Chitoge were on a date. But before she went home, Raku asked whether she had ever seen his locket before, perhaps when they were younger. Onodera said that she had never seen a locket like that at all, and she suggested that Raku should hurry and find Chitoge. After night fell, Raku searched around the park for Chitoge. He apologized for making her wait so long. Chitoge scolded Raku, saying that even though she had tried her best, Raku had ended up doing the opposite of what she expected. Raku bought dorayaki as a way to apologize. His face turned red as he admitted that everything really was his fault. Chitoge was surprised that Raku was actually aware of his mistake. Raku urged her to try the dorayaki right away, but when she opened the package, it turned out she did not like dorayaki at all. That night, Onodera returned home, where her mother offered her a new dorayaki flavor. Onodera chose to go straight to her room instead. She looked at an old photo of Raku from when he was a child and felt conflicted because she had not told him the truth. She realized that by staying silent, it was only becoming harder for her to ever say what she really felt to Raku. One day, Chitoge accompanied Raku while he took care of the school's animals. Chitoge admitted that even though Raku handled everything on his own, he took very good care of them. Raku explained that he treated the animals like his own family. Unexpectedly, many of the animals he fed became overly energetic and crowded around him, but Raku laughed happily and casually complained about how troublesome they were. Chitoge asked how many animals were actually there. Raku said there were about 90, which shocked Chitoge and made her say that the place felt like a zoo. Some of the animals had names while others did not. Chitoge wondered why only some were named even though Raku considered them family. It turned out that precisely because he saw them as family, Raku was very careful when choosing names. One animal was named Divine Spacer Kiyoshi, which Chitoge felt was far too long. Raku then told Chitoge that she could name the animals instead, but she ended up just numbering them. Raku pointed out a few animals he had already named, such as Rodriguez IV, the turtle, and Crusher Kato, the chicken. Chitoge reacted with curiosity, casually wondering what kind of food those animals might like, which made the moment feel awkward but lighthearted. In the past, a young Raku approached a little girl and asked why she was crying. The girl explained that the picture book she was reading had a sad ending. She said she loved the book very much, but the story made her heart ache. After hearing that, Raku changed the ending into a happy one. The girl felt relieved and happy because the new ending was beautiful. She smiled warmly and asked for Raku's name. However, before she could say her own name, the adult Raku suddenly woke up from his sleep. That moment from his childhood had once again appeared in his dream. Yet even now, Raku still could not remember the little girl's name. His face turned red as he recalled the girl's face from the dream, but he felt irritated because the dream never continued, even though he dreamed about her quite often. That morning, Raku quickly prepared breakfast while his mind was still stuck on the dream. After yesterday's conversation with Onodera, it was already clear that Onodera was not the girl from the pendant promise in his past. On top of that, Onodera had also been thinking about the fact that Raku was already dating Chitoge. Raku suddenly let out a frustrated scream, feeling overwhelmed by everything that was happening to him. His reaction made the Yakuza members around the house feel worried. After that, Raku headed to school with the intention of talking to Onodera to clear up the misunderstanding. He remembered Onodera's words about how the girl from the promise must have truly cared about him. Raku wondered whether that girl was still holding on to the key after all those years. Suddenly, Chitoge greeted Raku affectionately from across the street. Raku was surprised to see how exhausted Chitoge looked. She explained that she was tired because of what happened the day before. It turned out she had been overwhelmed by endless questions about her relationship, asked by her father's subordinates. Chitoge felt irritated because even at home, she could not catch a break. Raku realized that school might be the only place where they could relax, even just a little. Chitoge wondered how long this situation would last and whether it really had to continue for 3 years. According to Raku, the most troublesome person was Claude, since he was completely suspicious of their relationship. Raku asked where Claude was at that moment, but Chitoge did not know because she had not seen him yet that day. For Chitoge, the most important thing was making sure their relationship did not become known at school. She reminded Raku to explain things to Onodera, because if Onodera misunderstood and spread rumors, it would cause more problems. Raku felt confident that Onodera was not the type of person who liked gossiping. As soon as Raku opened the classroom door, he saw Onodera chatting with 2 of her friends. Onodera immediately greeted him. Just as Raku was about to explain what had happened the day before, all the students in the class suddenly congratulated him and Chitoge on becoming a couple. Their classmates hoped that the relationship would last all the way to marriage. Raku quickly tried to deny it, but Shu explained that on the previous Saturday, Itano and Shirogasaki had seen them together and assumed their relationship was real. Shu admitted that he felt jealous, since he never expected Raku to be the first one to get a girlfriend. Some of the male students wondered why Chitoge would choose someone as ordinary as Raku to be her boyfriend. Their homeroom teacher Kyoka was also surprised by the relationship between Raku and Chitoge. Raku tried to deny everything and clear up the misunderstanding, but at that moment Claude was secretly watching them from outside the classroom. Raku and Chitoge were shocked when they noticed Claude there. Claude was eagerly waiting to see how Raku would explain their true relationship, since he was ready to remove Raku if it turned out that Raku was not truly dating Chitoge. Their classmates waited for a clear answer about what kind of relationship Raku and Chitoge actually had. Left with no choice, Chitoge stated that she and Raku were a couple deeply in love. The class erupted in cheers after hearing that confirmation. Raku signaled to Onodera that he would explain everything to her later. Onodera praised them, saying that just as she had expected, Raku and Chitoge seemed like a well-matched couple. After school, Raku and Chitoge could not understand why their bad luck kept following them. Chitoge felt that her high school life was already ruined, and she could not understand why Raku seemed so calm about it. Because Claude kept watching them during breaks and lunchtime, Raku never got the chance to talk to Onodera. Chitoge told Raku to go home first, because she still had something to take care of. When Raku asked what she was planning to do, Chitoge responded by lightly tapping his head in annoyance. Raku worried that Onodera would continue to misunderstand him all the way until graduation. He did not want that to happen, and he was determined to talk to her somehow, but no matter what he did, he could not find the right opportunity. Unexpectedly, Raku ran into Onodera, who had just finished a committee meeting. Raku realized that this was a rare chance to talk to her, so he felt that he had to act right away. He wanted to start a conversation, but he worried that Onodera might ask why she was the only one being told about this. Raku began to panic about what he should say if Chitoge ever questioned him like that. If he said that he wanted Onodera to understand his situation, it would be the same as openly confessing his feelings to her. A confession was something that needed to be prepared carefully, and at that moment, Raku felt that his heart was not ready for it. In the end, Raku said that he thought he and Chitoge did not really suit each other. Onodera reminded him that he should not say things like that while he was still in a relationship. She felt that Chitoge might have her own reasons for being able to like Raku. Raku was not convinced because he believed he had no special strengths. However, Onodera told him that he actually had many good qualities. Raku genuinely felt happy hearing that from her. Onodera mentioned several of Raku's strengths, such as the time when Chitoge struggled with studying Japanese and Raku quietly gave her his notes, or how Raku could not stand seeing abandoned animals and always felt the urge to help them. She also brought up how Raku once helped an elderly woman for hours without expecting anything in return. Another example was when Raku lied to a teacher by saying that he had also forgotten his homework, just like his classmates, so they could all be scolded together. In Onodera's eyes, Raku had many admirable qualities. Raku never expected that Onodera paid such close attention to him. From Raku's perspective, it seemed unlikely that Chitoge would be drawn to those kinds of traits, yet he felt that he finally understood why Chitoge might like him. Suddenly, another student accidentally bumped into Onodera, causing a necklace from her bag to fall out. Both Raku and Onodera were startled when they saw it, and Onodera's face immediately turned red as she noticed Raku's curious expression. Raku thought that the key attached to it did not look like a house key. He began to wonder if it might be connected to the pendant he owned. Cold sweat formed on Raku's face as he thought about the possible connection between Onodera's key and his own pendant. Onodera quickly picked up the key and nervously said that it was her house key, only to suddenly correct herself and claim that it was actually the key to a bookshelf at her home. She looked extremely flustered and hurried away. Raku was surprised that Onodera could act like that. His heart was still racing even though Onodera had said that the key was not what he thought it was. Despite that, Raku found himself hoping that Onodera might be the girl involved in that promise. He could not stop thinking about whether the key was really just for a bookshelf. Meanwhile, Onodera continued watching Raku from a distance, her face still red as she thought about him. Raku then realized that he had once again missed the chance to tell Onodera about the true nature of his relationship with Chitoge, but he believed there would still be another opportunity the next day. The next morning, Raku and Chitoge greeted each other warmly when they met in class. They were forced to act that way to avoid making Claude suspicious. Their classmates cheered happily when they saw how close the two of them looked. In reality, neither Raku nor Chitoge enjoyed keeping up the act, but they had to stay cheerful in front of everyone, especially since Claude continued to watch them from outside the classroom window. At that moment, Ruri, Onodera's close friend, admitted that she felt jealous of how close Raku and Chitoge seemed. During the lesson, Onodera kept staring at Raku again and again. When break time arrived, Raku approached Chitoge and asked why she looked so nervous. The two of them chose a quiet place to talk privately. Chitoge complained about how everything had turned out this way. Raku felt that they needed to find a way to outsmart Claude. Chitoge said that since Claude was already suspicious, he would not be willing to listen to anything Raku had to say. She also mentioned that Claude probably would not show up after school that day because he had other business to attend to. Chitoge felt that if things continued like this, nothing would change. Raku thought that it might be okay to tell the truth to a close friend who could keep a secret. He believed that if someone else knew about their situation, the burden on his shoulders might feel a little lighter. Chitoge told him that he should be the one to say it first. After that, she did not want Raku to keep talking with her. She even asked him to go home first because she had something to take care of. Raku was confused about why Chitoge suddenly started acting that way. That afternoon, Raku was heading home together with Shu. Shu had not expected Raku to open up about Chitoge to him. Raku felt confused because he believed he had not done anything wrong, yet Chitoge had acted strangely toward him. According to Shu, girls were naturally sensitive. Shu even wondered whether Chitoge's lips might feel soft, but Raku explained that nothing like that had ever happened between him and Chitoge. Shu said that he was willing to listen to Raku's worries because he was Raku's close friend. The two of them went to a spot near the river to talk. Raku explained Chitoge's behavior that day, while Shu admitted that he did not really understand the idea of keeping secrets from friends. Raku still could not understand why Chitoge had suddenly started acting that way, or perhaps she was simply in a bad mood. Shu guessed that Chitoge might be having trouble fitting in socially. Raku thought that if Chitoge had close friends, her secrets would not feel like such a burden. It seemed that Chitoge truly did not have friends. Although she had spoken with other girls before, she never acted close to anyone other than Raku. After school, when Raku turned in his assignment at the teacher's office, he asked about Onodera. Ms. Kyoko told him that Onodera had already gone home because there was no committee meeting that day. Raku felt disappointed, since that day had been a good chance for him to talk with Onodera. As he was about to leave, he suddenly remembered what Shu had said earlier, that Chitoge never acted close to anyone except him. Raku wondered why he was the one worrying about Chitoge. By chance, Raku overheard other students talking. They were discussing how Chitoge seemed distant whenever she talked with them. They admitted that it felt difficult to get close to a mixed heritage student like her, yet she looked friendly when she was with Raku. They felt as though Chitoge looked down on them. Raku immediately ran back toward the classroom. Only then did he realize that Chitoge really had been spending most of her time with him, ever since she transferred to the school. Especially when they were pretending to be a couple, Chitoge had pushed her own personal life aside. At that moment, Chitoge was making notes about the names of her classmates. Raku could only watch quietly. After Chitoge finished writing, she felt confident that she could finally start talking with them. Raku slowly approached her. Chitoge was startled when she noticed Raku and quickly covered her notebook, asking how long he had been standing there. Her face turned red with embarrassment after realizing that Raku had seen what she was doing. Chitoge reflexively tried to lash out, but Raku stopped her before it went too far. Chitoge was sure that Raku would laugh at her. She admitted that she did not know any other way to get close to people and confessed that she had no idea how to approach classmates. Claude had been protecting her since she was little. He had always been extremely protective, even escorting Chitoge to school and constantly keeping an eye on her. He also always tried to find out who she spent time with, which made it difficult for Chitoge to make friends. In truth, she wanted to live like a normal girl. She had thought that moving to Japan would mean no one would know that she was the daughter of a mafia boss, but the situation turned out to be no different. Chitoge herself wondered why she had ended up telling all of this to Raku. Raku felt that his own life was not that different from hers. He had even made similar notes before. Since Raku was little, his father had been part of the Yakuza, and every time he changed schools, people always whispered about him. Raku explained that Ueshida was actually a nice person who got really excited when talking about sports. He suggested that Chitoge ask Suzuki about schoolwork because she was smart, and he hoped that Chitoge could get closer to Maria, who clearly wanted to talk with her. Raku knew a lot about his classmates thanks to the notes he had once made, and he even offered to help Chitoge become closer with everyone. Raku admitted that Chitoge could be annoying, but he understood how she felt. Chitoge's face turned red, yet she acted as if she was reluctantly accepting Raku's help. Raku became even more convinced that Chitoge was not cute at all. Chitoge stated that she would not act sweet toward Raku, because their relationship was only pretend. Unexpectedly, that conversation was overheard by Onodera, who was standing at the front of the classroom. She was shocked and could not understand what was really going on. One morning, Chitoge headed to school together with Raku. Suddenly, two fellow students came over to greet Chitoge. At first, she looked very nervous, but moments later she started talking about sports. They seemed very comfortable chatting about a sports match from the previous night. Raku noticed that the note she had prepared earlier seemed to help a lot. From that day on, little by little, Chitoge managed to grow closer to her classmates. She was not the type of person who struggled to make friends. Rather, her natural personality allowed her to connect easily once she was given the chance. That day, Chitoge was assigned to take care of the plants at school, and she quietly sang to herself because she felt happy. Her high school life was finally going the way she had imagined. Her mood even improved whenever she saw the school's plants and animals. She proudly told Raku that she was planning to go to McDonald's with her friends later. Raku did not feel jealous, since he also went there often. In Chitoge's mind, she felt that if she were to break up with Raku, her life might become even more perfect. Previously, whenever Raku was near her, Chitoge always showed a sulky expression, but this time she actually smiled at him. Unfortunately, Raku misunderstood her attitude. Chitoge had not really changed at all, and was still the same troublesome girl as ever. At the same time, Ruri and Onodera were watching them from a distance. Ruri did not like how close Raku and Chitoge seemed to be. Instead, she was worried about Onodera's feelings, since she realized that her best friend had feelings for Raku. Hearing this, Onodera was surprised and tried to deny it, but Ruri was completely convinced that Onodera liked him. Onodera felt that she was nothing more than an obstacle, because Raku already had a girlfriend. Ruri confidently stated that she believed Raku also had feelings for Onodera. Onodera's face immediately turned red, and she could hardly believe what Ruri was saying. Ruri had been watching the two of them for a long time and even suggested that Onodera should try dating Raku. Onodera admitted that Ruri's words were painfully honest. Ruri gently patted Onodera's head and reminded her that there was no rule saying Onodera could not get close to someone just because that person liked someone else. Onodera realized that Ruri had a point. Ruri told her not to worry and promised to create an opportunity for her. She then walked straight toward Raku, making Onodera panic and worry about what Ruri might say to him. In the end, Ruri simply suggested having a group study session in Raku's room. Raku was surprised by the idea, but immediately agreed. After school, Raku invited Ruri, Onodera, Shu, and Chitoge to his house. They were greeted by members of the Yakuza. One of them, Ryunosuke, asked whether Raku was planning to hold a study session. Raku asked Ryunosuke to prepare some tea right away. He did not understand why Ruri had suddenly suggested studying at his place. He also never expected that Onodera, the girl he liked, would join them, which made him feel extremely grateful. Ruri then asked why Shu had come along as well. Shu explained that there was nothing wrong with him joining, especially since he and Ruri were both glasses-wearing classmates. Raku wondered if this had all been Onodera's idea and tried to get Ruri to admit it. At that moment, Raku and Onodera accidentally made eye contact, but Onodera quickly looked away, her face turned red, and she could not bring herself to look at Raku. The group then headed toward Raku's room. Raku tried to calm his racing heart, but suddenly Chitoge started moving around excitedly in front of him, prompting Raku to wonder what was making her so nervous, or rather, so cheerful. Chitoge admitted that it was her first time ever studying in a group with friends, and wondered if it was wrong for her to feel that happy. When they arrived at Raku's room, Ruri was amazed by how spacious it was. Shu mentioned that it had been a long time since he had last been there. Chitoge, on the other hand, commented that the room felt small and had a strange smell. Raku felt irritated that Chitoge would say something like that in front of Onodera. Onodera's face turned red when she noticed the familiar scent of Raku's room, making her feel even more embarrassed. Once again, Onodera and Raku accidentally locked eyes, but she quickly turned her face away. She was truly too shy to look at him directly. Not long after, Ryunosuke arrived with tea for everyone. Raku picked up the tea tray, and Onodera hurried over to help him. However, when their hands accidentally touched, Onodera panicked and ended up tossing the tray into the air. Ryunosuke immediately became flustered and asked whether Raku was all right, while Onodera, overwhelmed with embarrassment, quickly apologized. At that moment, Raku felt so restless that he did not know what to do. He tried to calm himself down and focus on his assignment. Onodera asked Ruri to help her with a problem she found difficult, but instead, Ruri told Raku to help Onodera. Onodera was surprised and wondered why Ruri had pointed her toward Raku instead. Ruri admitted that she was not good at that particular subject. Onodera found it strange because Ruri had been able to solve even harder problems the day before. Worried then asked Onodera not to question her any further. Onodera quickly approached Raku, looking nervous as she asked for his help. Their faces both turned red because they were standing so close to each other. At that moment, Raku's heart was beating extremely fast, not only because Onodera was right beside him, but also because he was not confident in math. He did not know what to say to her and even worried that she might be able to hear how fast his heart was pounding. Raku tried to calm himself, but the math problem truly was difficult. Suddenly, Chitoge suggested that they should align the variables first. Raku told Chitoge that she should just focus on her own assignment. Chitoge replied that she had already finished it, which Raku could hardly believe since the homework that day was 3 full pages. Chitoge then showed the completed assignment to him. Raku was shocked and realized that Chitoge was actually smart, even though he had assumed he was better than her. It turned out that when Chitoge studied in America, she consistently earned straight A grades. She was also willing to help Onodera. Onodera felt very happy because Chitoge explained everything in a clear and easy-to-understand way. Hearing the praise, Chitoge laughed cheerfully and looked down at Raku with confidence. Raku felt extremely annoyed and silently wished she would stop acting so smug. Not long after that, Chitoge suddenly asked whether there was a guy that Onodera liked. Both Raku and Onodera were caught off guard by the question. Raku wondered why Chitoge would bring up something like that, but to Chitoge, it was a normal topic among girls. Onodera admitted that she did not have feelings for anyone yet. Hearing that, Raku smiled to himself because it meant he still had a chance. Chitoge also admitted that she did not like anyone at the moment and hoped she would experience something romantic someday. Their classmates felt confused by Chitoge's statement, and realizing the awkward atmosphere, Chitoge claimed that she was only joking. Raku immediately played along to help smooth things over. They continued acting close so their classmates would not grow suspicious. Shu suddenly asked how far Raku and Chitoge's relationship had progressed. Chitoge panicked upon hearing the question. Raku quickly stopped Shu from continuing and led him outside, clearly uncomfortable with the topic. Raku warned Shu not to talk about things like that. He then explained the fake dating situation and asked Shu to keep his secret. However, Shu revealed that he had known from the start and had only pretended not to know so he could enjoy the situation. Raku was surprised that he had ended up telling Shu everything. Shu advised Raku not to let Onodera misunderstand anything and suggested that Raku should be honest and confess his feelings to her. Shu even offered to help, as he believed that Onodera had feelings for Raku as well. Raku was shocked and felt that such a possibility was hard to believe. Raku and Shu then returned to the others. Raku kept thinking that if Onodera truly liked him, his life would become incredibly happy. Unbeknownst to him, several Yakuza members were watching from a distance. They were suspicious because there seemed to be no progress in Raku and Chitoge's relationship. Even inviting Chitoge to his house required bringing other friends along. The Yakuza members decided to help Raku grow closer to Chitoge. They asked Raku and Chitoge to retrieve some expensive tea stored in the warehouse. Ruri felt relieved because she had been feeling awkward around Onodera at the time. When they arrived at the warehouse, Raku asked Chitoge to go inside with him, but she refused and chose to wait outside. Suddenly, someone pushed them both inside and locked the door from the outside. It turned out that the Yakuza members had done it on purpose to give Raku and Chitoge time alone together. Raku repeatedly knocked on the warehouse door, but it was no use. He wondered why the Yakuza members would go that far, especially after they claimed they could only help up to that point. Despite the situation, Raku remained calm because he believed they would eventually find a way out, especially since there was a ladder and a window inside. He apologized to Chitoge for the Yakuza members' actions. Unexpectedly, Chitoge held on to Raku tightly from behind. She was extremely frightened and reacted defensively when she realized how close they were. Chitoge admitted that she felt uncomfortable in dark, confined spaces due to a past experience where she had been stuck inside a washing machine for several hours. She asked Raku to stay still because holding on to him helped her feel calmer. At that moment, Raku realized that there was another side to Chitoge he had never seen before. Being so close to her, he became aware of her shaky breathing and her teary eyes, and he could sense the warmth of her presence. Raku admitted to himself that Chitoge truly had a gentle and charming side. However, he quickly pushed those thoughts away, reminding himself that he had already decided to give his heart to Onodera. Chitoge noticed a ladder and wondered whether they could get out through the window, but her condition at the time made it impossible for her to climb. She asked Raku to go out first and look for help, yet he could not bring himself to leave her alone in the storage room. He believed the Yakuza members would eventually open the door, so he chose to stay and keep her company. Chitoge grew irritated, feeling that Raku was trying too hard to act cool in a way that did not suit him. After that, she suggested that they talk. because staying silent would only make her feel more scared. Raku did not even know what they were supposed to talk about. Chitoge suggested that he tell an amazing story, but Raku admitted that he was not good at talking about things just like that. She then asked how he felt about Onodera at that moment. Raku was startled and wondered why she suddenly brought that up. According to Chitoge, Onodera seemed like an impressive person who was sweet and friendly, so she felt she could probably get along well with her. Raku admitted that Onodera really was kind, warm, and thoughtful. He also thought that she was beautiful, neat, charming, and feminine, and he felt confident that Onodera was the kind of girl many people would admire. Chitoge asked whether Raku might be hiding feelings for Onodera. He panicked, realizing that she had noticed. Chitoge admitted that she agreed with his opinion about Onodera. She then suddenly wondered why everyone kept bringing up questions about kissing and whether it was really that important. Raku did not understand why people enjoyed talking about that topic so much. Chitoge commented that she would rather face something extreme than ever kiss Raku, though the remark came off as exaggerated and emotional rather than serious. Raku became convinced that she had never kissed anyone before. Chitoge, on the other hand, suspected that Raku was the inexperienced one, while she claimed to have kissed many people, explaining it as a form of greeting in other countries. Raku pointed out that they were talking about kissing on the lips, not a friendly greeting on the cheek. They kept arguing back and forth about the subject. As the debate went on and became more heated, Raku unexpectedly stopped feeling scared. Because of that, Chitoge felt confident that she could finally climb the ladder. She quickly stood up, but then she stumbled and her body landed right in front of Raku. Their faces turned red because they were suddenly so close that it looked as if they were about to kiss. At that moment, Claudia arrived and opened the storage room door. Seeing how close they were, he teased Raku, implying that he should not rush things like that. Ruri then appeared and admitted that she felt relieved, since she had been worried about them the entire time. Unexpectedly, Onodera also arrived and saw the scene. Her face turned red, and she apologized for interrupting before quickly leaving the area. Raku felt deeply upset because Onodera had misunderstood the situation. He never imagined that such drama would bring their group study session to an abrupt end. That night, after taking a bath, Chitoge read through a friend's notebook. Before this, she had viewed Raku as loud, overly heroic, and annoying. She added a note about him, writing that he might possibly have a good side, though it seemed like it was probably just her imagination. In the end, she thought of Raku as nothing more than a bean sprout. Earlier during the group study session, Onodera had gone to look for the restroom, leaving Ruri alone with Shu. Shu asked whether Ruri had ever kissed anyone, which caught her completely off guard. Ruri refused to answer and wondered why Shu was suddenly acting so familiar with her. She brought up her suspicions about the relationship between Raku and Chitoge, feeling sure that Shu knew something. But he only continued teasing her, making her feel uncomfortable and turned off by his attitude. Meanwhile, Onodera became confused about where the restroom was and decided to ask Ryunosuke for directions. That day, during the break, Raku bought a drink from the school vending machine. His mind was still stuck on what had happened at his house the day before. He desperately wanted to forget the incident with Chitoge in the storage room, but he could not stop worrying about Onodera, who might have misunderstood what she saw when Raku and Chitoge were together there. When Raku reached the area near the classroom, he noticed Ruri trying to cheer Onodera up and telling her not to stay gloomy. Onodera explained that she felt like she could not interfere in someone else's relationship. Unfortunately, Raku could not clearly hear their conversation. Ruri then asked why Onodera was still keeping that key and whether she was still searching for the boy she had made a promise with 10 years ago. Hearing this, Raku began to wonder if Onodera might be the girl from that promise long ago. Ruri continued encouraging Onodera to give herself a chance to express her feelings to Raku and even planned to ask Chitoge for help. Ruri was very confident that Raku truly liked Onodera, especially because she strongly suspected something complicated about the relationship between Raku and Chitoge. That same day, Ruri asked Chitoge for help by inviting her to join the school swimming team. Ruri explained that the swimming team would hold a group practice the next day, but they were short on members. She chose Chitoge because of her excellent athletic ability. Chitoge did not mind at all since she genuinely enjoyed sports, although she was surprised to see Raku there as well. Raku was confused about why Ruri had invited him, considering it was a girls' swimming team. Ruri explained that she needed Raku's help to support someone. Raku, however, was still distracted by the conversation about the 10-year promise that Ruri and Onodera had earlier that morning, making it hard for him to focus. Suddenly, Onodera arrived and was confused about why Ruri had signed her up for the swimming team even though she could not swim. Raku was startled when he saw Onodera in a swimsuit. He had not expected how sweet and charming she looked in it. Onodera became extremely nervous upon noticing Raku, while Raku kept wondering why she continued carrying the key she referred to as a bookshelf key. Onodera's face turned red as she stood there, unsure of what to do. Shidoge quickly scolded Raku for staring too much and snapped him out of it. At that moment, Onodera began to wonder if Raku might actually have feelings for her. She felt awkward being so close to him. Suddenly, Ruri casually brought up what Raku and Shidoge had been doing together in the dark storage room the day before. The question shocked everyone, and Onodera was confused as to why Ruri would mention that. Raku explained that it had only been an accident caused by losing balance. Hearing this, Onodera felt relieved and realized that Ruri had asked the question for her sake. Ruri then made sure that nothing inappropriate had happened between them. Not long after, Shu approached them, having come specifically to watch Onodera and Chidoge help the swimming team. He was clearly impressed by Chidoge and Onodera, though he showed no such interest in Ruri. Annoyed by his attitude, Ruri pushed Shu into the pool to shut him up. She then firmly warned him to stop causing trouble. Ruri explained that she had asked Raku to help teach Onodera how to swim. Both Raku and Onodera were shocked to hear this. Chidoge looked excited, while Raku became visibly nervous. Onodera's face turned bright red when she realized that Raku would be the one teaching her. It turned out that Ruri had planned everything without telling Onodera beforehand. Chidoge wondered why Ruri had invited Onodera, even though she could not swim. Onodera apologized to Chidoge for the sudden situation, but Chidoge did not mind at all and even said that she was enjoying herself. Seeing how friendly and kind Chidoge was, Onodera felt that Chidoge truly seemed like someone worthy of Raku's affection. Suddenly, a suspicious man approached while disguised, offering to help Chidoge with sunscreen. Ruri immediately kicked him away, revealing that it was actually Shu in disguise. She told him to go home if he was only going to cause trouble. Meanwhile, Raku wondered whether Claude had been watching him the day before. If Claude had been there, Raku was certain that Shu would not have acted so recklessly. In fact, Claude was watching Chidoge from a distance and was surprised to realize how much she had grown up. Chidoge demonstrated to Onodera how to jump and swim in the pool. She moved skillfully through the water, kicking swiftly, and when she reached the edge of the pool, she checked whether Onodera understood the idea. Onodera was completely amazed by Chidoge's impressive movements. Raku thought that Chidoge was so skilled that her technique might actually be difficult for a beginner to follow. Feeling a bit discouraged, Chidoge fell silent at the side of the pool. Raku then stepped in and began teaching Onodera the basics, starting with simple leg movements. Raku felt genuinely happy to be able to teach Onodera privately, especially since she was standing so close to him. He did not expect to be guiding her so closely, even holding her hand to help her balance. Onodera's hand felt warm and soft, and with a flushed face, she asked him not to let go. Unfortunately, Raku became too nervous and accidentally loosened his grip, causing Onodera to fall into the pool. Raku immediately apologized, but Onodera realized that it happened because she was still inexperienced. Raku suggested taking a short break, but Onodera refused, saying that since Raku was putting so much effort into teaching her, she wanted to stay motivated. Onodera's bright smile made Raku's face turn red, and he became flustered, running off while shouting in embarrassment. Onodera looked incredibly sweet, leaving a strong impression on Raku's heart. Onodera herself looked shy as well and soon went to buy a drink as a small gesture of thanks to Raku. In the end, Raku felt more motivated than ever to continue teaching Onodera how to swim. Padasae 2. Raku noticed Onodera's key lying there. He slowly moved closer to it, thinking that if the key really was the one from 10 years ago, and if Onodera was the person who had made that promise with him back then he could end up marrying Onodera. For now, the most important thing was to confirm whether the key could open his locket. Raku then tried to insert the key into the keyhole of his locket. Unexpectedly, the key would not fit at all, and he suspected that it was a different key. Suddenly, Onodera arrived carrying tea together with Chiyoge and Ruri. Raku was startled by their sudden appearance. Onodera looked confused and wondered why Raku was holding what appeared to be a key from the girls' changing room. The situation quickly escalated, and they restrained Raku, completely misunderstanding what was happening and assuming the worst about his intentions. Raku desperately tried to explain the misunderstanding, but they did not listen. He himself was confused about why the changing room key had such a strange design. Ruri explained that the principal had designed it and that the principal's taste seemed old-fashioned. Onodera believed that everything was just a misunderstanding and that Raku was not the type of person who would do something inappropriate. Hearing Onodera defend him like that deeply moved Raku. Because of Onodera's trust, Ruri released Raku and asked him to continue teaching Onodera how to swim again the next day. Raku thanked Onodera sincerely for believing in him. Ruri then apologized to Chitoge for having to borrow Chitoge's boyfriend to help Onodera practice swimming. Chitoge became flustered when Ruri mentioned the word boyfriend, and her reaction made Ruri even more suspicious. The next day, Raku returned to the swimming pool to teach Onodera again. Not long after that, Chitoge came over to them. Raku felt curious about why Chitoge was not wearing the same swim outfit as before. Chitoge explained that everything had been rushed the previous day and that she had not prepared a proper school swim uniform. She teased Raku by implying that he seemed very curious, which led Raku to comment that things would be easier if her behavior were calmer. Hearing that, Chitoge immediately got upset and lashed out at him, then asked about Onodera's progress. Raku explained that as long as Onodera used a flotation device, she would be able to manage. Chitoge was shocked, thinking that meant Onodera still could not swim properly at all. Raku felt that this was normal, since no one could master swimming with just one day of practice. They continued arguing back and forth until Onodera arrived with Ruri. Raku asked if Onodera was feeling okay. Onodera said that she had practiced swimming techniques in the bathtub. Raku told her not to push herself too hard and reminded her that all she needed to do was swim until the finish line. Seeing this, Chitoge wondered why Raku treated Onodera differently compared to others. Raku responded that there was no reason for him to be especially considerate toward Chitoge. Chitoge felt hurt by the difference in how Raku treated her compared to Onodera. Because of that, they ended up arguing intensely once again. Ruri found it strange and wondered whether the two of them were fighting because they were close or because they truly disliked each other. Their public behavior toward each other was very different from what she was seeing now, which only made her more curious about what kind of relationship they actually had. The swimming competition then began. Raku reminded Chitoge to warm up first, but she refused. Only Onodera wore a flotation device, since she was still unable to swim on her own. She encouraged herself to make it to the finish line. When the signal was given, all the participants jumped into the pool. Raku apologized to Ruri, feeling that just one day of practice was not enough to make Onodera skilled at swimming. Ruri was surprised that Raku took it so seriously, since she had only been joking. Still, Onodera was able to keep going and did not sink during the swim. Suddenly, Chitoge began to sink because both of her legs cramped up due to not warming up beforehand. Raku immediately jumped into the pool to save her. He managed to reach Chitoge and support her, and everyone there praised Raku for his quick action. He quickly brought Chitoge to the edge of the pool. Shu rushed over and asked about Chitoge's condition. Raku said that she had not swallowed much water, but after Shu checked her, he realized that Chitoge was not breathing. Everyone panicked. Shu told Raku that emergency breathing assistance was needed, which shocked Raku. He thought that this was not something he was prepared to do and wondered why it had to be him. Onodera's face turned red, and Ruri pointed out that Raku was the one who should do it, since he was Chitoge's boyfriend. Raku never expected that he would end up having to give emergency rescue breathing to Chitoge in front of so many people, especially with Onodera being there as well. However, because it was an urgent situation, someone had to step in and help. In his mind, Raku could not stop thinking about how giving rescue breathing felt no different from putting his lips close to hers. He felt extremely conflicted and hesitant, but in the end, he decided that helping her was the right thing to do. Just as his face moved closer to Chitoge's, she suddenly regained consciousness and reacted in shock, causing Raku to be sent stumbling back in surprise. Later on, inside the girls' changing room, Onodera was changing clothes together with Ruri. Onodera mentioned that Raku was an amazing guy because he bravely saved Chitoge when she was drowning. Ruri then wondered whether Onodera secretly wished that she herself had been the one in danger instead. Feeling flustered, Onodera quickly denied that idea. Ruri noticed that Onodera often looked timid and unsure of herself, yet in the end, it was still hard to tell whether the relationship between Raku and Chitoge was good or bad. Their chemistry seemed both compatible and conflicting at the same time, but one thing was certain: Raku and Chitoge did not look like a couple at all. Seeing how Onodera always carried her key everywhere she went, Ruri pointed out that Onodera had been carefully protecting that key for 10 whole years. Onodera explained that it was something very precious to her. Ruri felt that the promise connected to the locket from 10 years ago was a waste of time, especially since Onodera could not even remember the face of the boy from back then. Ruri believed that the feelings right in front of her mattered more. Still, she also thought that the love from 10 years ago was connected to the feelings in the present, and she was convinced that Raku had simply mistaken the changing room key for the locket key the day before. Meanwhile, Raku was waiting outside while the girls were changing clothes when Shu suddenly approached him and brought up the incident at the swimming pool earlier. Shu then teased Raku by asking who he would choose between Onodera and Chidoge, making immature and inappropriate comparisons that crossed the line. Hearing that careless conversation, Chidoge reacted immediately and, in her frustration, pushed both of them back into the pool to put a stop to it. Back when Chidoge was still in middle school, she once made chocolate for Valentine's Day. The subordinate members of her father's mafia group were asked to try it. The chocolate she made was actually quite bitter and tough to chew, but because they were intimidated by Claude, they forced themselves to praise it and said that Chidoge's chocolate was the best they had ever tasted. Later, on the way home from school, Shu asked Raku whether he had received any Valentine's chocolate. Raku said that he had received far too many, as it turned out that all the Yakuza members had given chocolate to him. Meanwhile, Onodera never found the courage to give her Valentine's chocolate to Raku, even though she had made it herself. Ruri noticed the chocolate and asked who it was meant for. Onodera said that it was not for anyone in particular, so Ruri asked if she could have it instead. Unexpectedly, after eating it, Ruri ended up feeling unwell because Onodera's homemade chocolate did not turn out right. During the New Year's celebration party, Chidoge was invited to Raku's residence. The Yakuza members asked Raku to show his talent and skills in front of everyone. Raku then sang a song beautifully, surprising everyone who listened. At that moment, Chidoge realized that Raku was actually very talented when it came to singing. One day during the lunch break, Chidoge had lunch together with Ruri and Onodera inside their classroom. She opened the lunchbox she had brought from home, and the moment the lid was lifted, Ruri and Onodera were stunned by what they saw. Inside were fish roe, foie gras, caviar, lobster, fried pork cutlets, shark fin spring rolls, and even a filet mignon steak. Onodera became curious about what kind of job Chidoge's parents actually had. Chidoge looked nervous and said that she came from a normal family. Ruri found it hard to believe and realized that Chidoge was actually from a wealthy background. Chidoge herself noticed that the lunch she brought did not look ordinary at all. The three of them were getting closer and agreed to call each other by their first names only. Nearby, several male students looked delighted while watching the friendly interaction between the three beautiful girls. Chidoge apologized because she had been disqualified from the swimming practice match, even though she was supposed to help Ruri's team. Ruri said it was not a problem, especially since she had been the one who pushed Chidoge too hard from the start, and she was just relieved that Chidoge was still okay. Even though Ruri had done it for Onodera's sake, she still felt deeply guilty. Chidoge explained that the reason she had sunk was because of Raku, since everything he had said before the practice match had annoyed her. She even felt that, while she was unconscious, Raku had still tried to startle her, and in her eyes, he was nothing more than someone beneath her. Onodera then told Chidoge that the person who saved her was actually Raku. Chidoge's face instantly turned red, as she could not believe that the soft and unreliable Raku had helped her. Onodera said that Raku's actions the day before had been impressive, especially when he suddenly dove in to save Chidoge. Onodera also felt uncomfortable hearing Chidoge describe Raku in such a demeaning way. Chidoge began to feel bad for having lashed out at Raku twice. Ruri said that it was not too late for Chidoge to apologize and thank him properly. Chidoge insisted that she could never do something like that, but Onodera encouraged her and even offered to help. Chidoge eventually went to see Raku. She looked nervous about bringing up what happened the day before, but Raku misunderstood and thought she was talking about Shu's comment about her stomach looking a bit round. He promised he would never tell anyone about it. Chidoge was shocked, since that was not what she meant at all. Raku was also confused about why Chidoge had been so rough with him the day before, even though he had not said anything offensive. He even suggested that she might feel better if she balanced her diet by eating more vegetables and less meat. Chidoge became irritated and reacted harshly toward him again. After that, she tried once more to apologize, this time asking about Raku's favorite food. Instead of understanding her intention, Raku suspected that she might be planning something unpleasant and wondered what she was actually trying to do. Earlier, Onodera had suggested that Chidoge give Raku something as an apology. Chidoge handed him a peanut butter bread as a way to thank him for what happened the day before, but Raku said that he preferred chunky red bean paste instead. Chidoge grew annoyed once again and responded sharply toward him. Chidoge still did not give up and tried to meet Raku again later. She brought up the incident from when she had sunk in the pool and said that she had only just learned that Raku was the one who saved her. She admitted that she never expected Raku to be someone who could act so bravely. Raku's face turned red after being described as brave by Chidoge, and it was a relief to him that she did not feel uncomfortable about his attempt to help her breathe. Raku admitted that he had panicked because Chitoge had stopped breathing. Chitoge was surprised and wondered if Raku had truly been worried about her. Raku then asked why she did not seem bothered by it, even though it had been a first-time experience for him. Chitoge misunderstood and thought he was talking about saving her from drowning. She said that it did not scare her at all and that she actually felt happy about it. Raku was confused about why Chitoge felt that way and did not see it as a serious issue. He became even more surprised and confused by what seemed like hidden feelings from her. The misunderstanding continued until Raku finally mentioned the attempt to help her breathe, which made Chitoge angry and caused her to react strongly once again. At that point, Chitoge seemed exhausted and decided that she would never properly thank someone as annoying and foolish as Raku. Onodera tried to calm her down. Ruri remained unsure whether Raku and Chitoge were actually a good match or not. She asked whether Raku and Chitoge were truly dating. Chitoge was startled by the question, but she remembered that Raku had once said that secrets could be shared with close friends. In the end, Chitoge chose to be honest with them. Ruri and Onodera were shocked to learn that Chitoge and Raku were not actually dating. Chitoge explained that their parents had a unique relationship, and because of that situation, she and Raku had been forced to pretend to be a couple. She added that if the circumstances were different, she would never choose to be with someone like Raku. Hearing that, Ruri asked what Chitoge would do if another girl developed feelings for Raku. Chitoge said that she would not mind at all. She asked Ruri and Onodera to promise to keep the secret, because if it ever leaked out, the consequences would be disastrous. Ruri became curious about what Chitoge's family was really like, but Chitoge once again insisted that she came from an ordinary family. After that, Chitoge excused herself, saying she had to go take care of the animals. After Chitoge left, Ruri suggested that Onodera should finally confess her feelings to Raku as soon as possible. However, Onodera felt that doing so would be too sudden. Ruri warned her that if she did not act soon, someone else might take Raku away. Onodera admitted that she had almost given up on expressing her feelings to him, but she realized that this was a rare and valuable opportunity. She did not want those emotions to keep weighing on her heart, so she decided that she would try her best to confess her feelings to Raku. Onodera had no idea how she should do it, and even imagining the moment already made her feel embarrassed. Ruri encouraged her to be brave, and reminded her that she needed to keep trying no matter how difficult it felt. Meanwhile, Raku still did not understand the way girls behaved, especially Chitoge, whose actions often came across as rough and unpredictable. Because of that, the pendant Raku treasured now had several scratches. He really wanted to replace the chain, since if he left it as it was, it might completely break before he ever reunited with the girl connected to the promise behind that pendant. Raku wondered what that girl was doing now. He would not even be surprised if he turned out to be the only one who still remembered the promise, since 10 years had already passed.